It all starts in a totally different world, where the scenery hides a ton of danger. In this spot, a goblin takes a breather after a tense showdown, just cleaning his weapon. He's chilling in the middle of several defeated enemies who made the bad call of crossing his path. Soon screams echo from inside a nearby cave, telling someone to shut their trap before they lose their teeth. The little green warrior turns his attention to the entrance of the place. He stays quiet, just analyzing the chaos coming from inside. Right then, he realizes there's still work to do and gets ready. Deep in the back, a helpless girl is tied up and in total shock. The goons read her ID, surprised to see the young girl used to live in a fancy neighborhood in Seoul. They start mocking the good life she used to have before ending up in this dump. One of them tries to force the girl to chill out and listen to what they have to say. They explain she got pulled from a normal life into a completely different world and must be freaking out. They warn her that this place has orcs, elves, and magic, laughing at the newcomer's bad luck. Then they drop the bomb that they also fell in there a while ago and now have the job of helping the newbies. They make it crystal clear she's gonna need that help a lot if she wants to stay in the game. They threaten her, saying if she doesn't play along, she's gonna end up exactly like the captured guy who just took a massive beating. The girl goes into full panic mode seeing the state her companion is in. The shock of the scene is too much, and she ends up passing out right there. The bandits complain about how fragile she is, and argue it would have been easier to just use brute force from the get-go. But one of them steps in, telling the others not to ruin the hostage's face. He points out they should treat her with a little more care since she's pretty cute. So they decide to wake her up ASAP so they don't have to carry her all the way to base. Just then, one of the hooded guys grumbles that he can't stand looking at this messed up situation anymore. His buddies find his attitude weird and ask if he's totally lost his marbles. They get annoyed by his silence and start aggressively demanding an answer. Suddenly, the guy standing there takes a critical hit. His body drops to the floor, revealing he was taken out by a total stealth move. Spooked, the criminals realize the intruder is just a little goblin and order an attack. The green warrior steps up, roasting the goons about how they looked like they were having a grand old time. Totally confused, one of the henchmen backs away from the sudden threat. The goblin suggests they start playing a very different kind of game from now on. One of the criminals attacks in a rage, but the intruder dodges and throws a blade. The weapon hits the bullseye, leaving the other goons completely shook by his crazy precision. While the girl wakes up confused, the remaining guys decide to surround their enemy. She freezes, just watching the chaos take over the cave. The bandits all rush in at once, trying to put an end to the little monster. But the agile warrior blocks the first strike like it's absolutely nothing. Using the opening, he dodges the attackers' desperate swings. With lightning-fast moves, he counters their attacks, leaving the guys completely defenseless. A crazy fast, precise slash cuts through the air straight at the group. The impact hits the target perfectly, dropping another goon. Right after that, his buddy also hits the floor, totally defeated. Without losing a beat, the goblin finishes off the last guy trying to put up a fight. The boss of the gang is in shock seeing his guys get wrecked by a creature like that. The young hostage watches everything, shaking from relief and pure terror at the same time. The goblin walks toward the leader, demanding they keep the game going. Freaking out, the guy swings his sword wildly, begging the monster to stay back. He screams at the top of his lungs, trying to push the looming threat away. But the little warrior casually jumps right over the clumsy attack with zero effort. Taking advantage of the blind spot, he lands a heavy hit right on the criminal's back. The impact slams the guy violently against the stone floor. Totally humiliated, he can barely stand up against that intimidating presence. While the girl cries in the background, the bandit begs the enemy not to come any closer. Trying to save his own skin, he backs up, offering food and pointing out that the creature can speak their language. Desperate for mercy, he suggests they talk it out, trying to butter up his opponent. Before he can even finish his sentence begging to be spared, he gets his game over. The warrior pulls his blade back, calling the defeated leader a piece of trash. The last of the criminals lies flat out on the cave floor. With the fight over, the savior sits down exhausted, complaining about how annoying the battle was. Right then he notices something and looks up, surprised. The tied-up girl is still thrashing around, completely terrified by the whole situation. Remembering she's there, the warrior walks over holding his knife. He stops right in front of the girl, who shrinks back in fear. He casually mentions he still needs to deal with the prisoner problem. Trying to gather some courage, she awkwardly says, "Excuse me." Hoping for a miracle, she asks if her unusual savior is also from Korea. The goblin claps back, asking if he looks like a human or someone fresh out of Korea. She insists that he understands the language, knows what an ID is, and just helped her out. Killing the mood, he quickly denies it, saying he didn't save anybody. Desperate, the girl begs for any kind of explanation because she has no idea what's going on. The warrior just asks if she wasn't paying attention to what the bandits were yapping about earlier. He explains they were both living the good life until they woke up out of nowhere in this bizarre world, and now they're screwed. The girl grabs her head in a panic, begging for this whole mess to make some sense. The little hero just gives a half smile at her breakdown. Finally, he tells her that by now she should be able to see exactly what he's seeing. Gorls wants to know if she sees anything from the system, like a quest popping up, but she's totally clueless. At that moment, tears roll down her face as something weird starts glowing right in front of her. Blue system screens float in front of the girl and she asks, totally spooked, what it all means. With that, Gorls laughs, pointing at her since he can see it too, explaining that doing those quests helps her adapt and score loot. Then he turns his back and tells her to figure it out and fight for herself from now on. Desperate, she tries to crawl after the little warrior, begging him to explain just a bit more since she's so lost. But he turns around, glaring at her super annoyed. In one fast move, he dashes back and grabs her tight, making her scream in terror. Pointing his sharp knife right at her neck, the warrior makes it clear who's the boss here. He harshly tells her to stop being clueless, because he's the most dangerous thing in this place and she shouldn't expect any more freebies from him. He adds that he plans on taking out any human that crosses his path, and she's only breathing because he feels like it right now. Crying heavily, she asks why he's so toxic when he's totally capable of helping them out. That question triggers some seriously bad memories for Gorls, reminding him of when someone yelled those exact words in the past. On that dark, rainy night in his memories, despair took over as a massive tragedy went down. Crying in the pouring rain, a guy was begging for the nightmare to not be real. Holding his fallen partner in his arms, he realized the worst had already happened to her. Then heavy armored footsteps started slowly approaching through the mud in the storm. Looking up, he saw the towering figure of the military leader who had just arrived on the scene. It was Ha-Yuri, the wielder of the holy sword, staring him down with absolute ice in the. She showed zero emotion looking at all his suffering. Desperate, the young man called her out on the promises she made to help everyone live a good life in that world. Screaming in pure pain, he asked why she didn't step in to save them when she had the power to do it. But Ha-Yuri just brushed it off, saying it was a shame, calling their tragic fate a noble sacrifice. And she doubled down, stating that because he fought an ally, he was now getting branded and punished as a traitor. He lost it, yelling that her own soldiers were the ones who took Seulgi and the baby away, and he was just trying to defend her. But the leader was fast, hitting the guy with a perfect strike that silenced him on the spot. Telling the young traitor to shut his mouth, she watched him fall, defeated right next to his partner. Lying in the freezing mud, he repeated her words, completely unable to accept that level of injustice and fake vibes. Realizing how messed up the situation was, the guy filled with absolute rage against all those lies. In his final moments, he cursed every single human for being so toxic and wished for them all to get wiped out. Swearing payback, he promised himself he'd pay whatever price it took to tear them apart with his own hands in the future. Back in the present, Gorls glares at the scared girl with that exact same dark look left over from his memories. Seeing her freaking out, he decides to just drop the truth bomb on why he's so ruthless against humans. Yelling in anger, the warrior declares his absolute hatred for humanity, reminding her he isn't part of that race anymore. He proudly owns his new identity as a green-skinned monster. In his flashback, Ha-Yuri kept repeating that his group's end was just a necessary and noble sacrifice, but that he was getting eliminated right then, and therefore rebelling and attacking her allies. The guy tried to scream that he only acted to defend Seulgi and their unborn kid. Showing zero mercy, she ordered him to stay quiet before landing the final blow in them. With that, the young guy's vision slowly faded to black as it was game over for him. Even as he faded, thoughts of pure rebellion against that injustice kept hammering in his brain. He cursed the human race with everything he had for being so backstabbing and cruel. And he desperately begged for one chance to make them pay, no matter the cost. Then his consciousness mysteriously wakes up underwater, surrounded by weird bubbles. Suddenly he breaches the surface in a brand new body, screaming with a totally reborn fury. Looking at his own reflection in the water, he's super confused about how he's still around after taking a fatal hit. The first thing that pops into his head is a desperate search for Seulgi. Looking around, he realizes he's in a completely unknown and bizarre zone. Soon a glowing magic circle pops up under his feet, lighting up the whole area. Annoyed by the confusion, he curses, having zero clue what's happening to his character right now. Looking down at his clawed hands, the guy freaks out realizing he looks like a total monster. Then a shaman shows up chanting some weird words and announcing that his human blood is finally gone. He's in absolute shock hearing that terrifying update about his new status. The elder introduces himself as Morkzul, the shaman of the monster tribe warriors. Under a moonlight ritual, he grants the guy a new name as an official member of the Goblin squad. He hypes up the start of his new journey with the identity he'd be rocking from now on. Speaking with authority, the shaman reveals he'd now go by Gorls. He takes the new name, surprised to realize he was deemed a super powerful vessel for the tribe. Back to the present, the defeated enemies showed precise cuts proving Gorl's insane skills. A warrior named Mev watches like a total fangirl, hyping up the way he fights humans. Mev orders the rest of the tribe's warriors to stay put while she pushes forward alone. Super hyped, she announces she's gonna join Gorl's to back him up on the mission. Meanwhile, the green warrior stares at the rescued girl with total ice in his eyes. He tells her to get lost right now before he changes his mind and decides to aggro her. But the girl begs to stick with him, promising to follow whatever orders he gives from now on. Annoyed, he asks if her brain is lagging, wanting to follow a monster that just wiped out a bunch of people right in front of her. She argues that the others pretended to be helpful just to do messed up stuff, while he saved her from a horrible game over in the cave. Bawling her eyes out, she says he's literally the only one she can trust in this whole world. Hearing that, he just rudely pokes her forehead with his finger to snap her out of it. He tells her that trusting people too easily is exactly why she ended up in this trash situation in the first place. Yelling so it gets through her skull, he warns her that absolutely nothing is trustworthy in this bizarre place. But he drops the info that, luckily, there are human survivor camps scattered around the map. He suggests that she'll definitely find way more reliable NPCs or players in those zones than him. With that, he hands over a small weapon so the girl can defend herself on the way there. Handing it over, Gorls warns her that surviving among humans is gonna cost her a heavy price later on. Gorls hands her a dagger and tells her to keep it hidden in her inventory and use it if things go south again. Then he dips, saying the chat is over and if she tries talking to him again, he'll personally send her back to the lobby. Desperate, the girl tells him to wait and begs to know her savior's name before he logs off for good. Walking away slowly with his back turned, the warrior thinks of his old human name but immediately trashes that file. He fully accepts himself as Gorls, the great vessel and goblin warrior, locking in this new life for good. Right after, he starts looting a wooden chest full of gear left behind by the guys he defeated in the cave. Just then, Mev the warrior pops up, asking why he let the humans slip away if he swore to wipe them all out. Noticing her right there, the MC casually points out that she finally showed up to. Getting totally jealous, the goblin complains that the prisoner got a dagger from him while she hasn't even gotten a gift like that yet. He replies that farming weak humans gives 0 XP and dealing with them is just a waste of time. Excited, she cheers, saying her warrior only wants high-level targets and calls him her man, leaving the MC totally confused. Curious, Mev asks about that holy sword warrior and wants to know how op she is to be hunted by him like that. Looking dead serious, Gorls explains that wanting to defeat that woman isn't just a stats thing. With pure rage in his eyes, he reveals he wants to obliterate the people who took away everything he valued in his past playthrough. Hearing that, his partner takes a step back, actually spooked by the sudden crazy intensity coming from the green warrior. In his mind, a painful flashback hits of the one person he wanted to protect with all his stats in the past. Furious, he points at himself, remembering that the enemies spared absolutely no one and took him out the coward's way. Locked in, the warrior states that now absolutely nothing is stopping him from getting his revenge after respawning like this. He goes on to say he made a hardcore promise to make the guilty ones pay big time for all the damage they caused. Hearing him vent, Mev stays completely silent, just watching her tribe mate's terrifying determination. A dark, monster-level aura seems to take over the warrior as he remembers all the grief he caught from human hands. Then he swears with everything he's got that he's gonna return every drop of damage he took, with 0 mercy. Completely overwhelmed by her allies' crazy pressure, the goblin loses her voice and starts shaking. Spooked, she actually trips and falls on the cave floor, letting out a high-pitched scream from his reaction. Realizing what he did, Gorls quickly chills out and tries to help his partner up, seeing he went a little too hard with his rage. Cowering, she says she gets super scared when he rages like that, making the MC apologize and calm her down. Then he orders her to round up the other warriors to grab the loot, and she instantly accepts her leader's quest. The young goblin quickly runs toward her squad, yelling for everyone to get in there and start grinding right away. Meanwhile, Gorls walks to the edge of a cliff to scout the huge map around them for new routes. Focusing on the distant forest, the green warrior mentally preps for the next boss fights coming his way. The warrior quietly scans the horizon, keeping his guard up for any random encounters popping out of the woods. Far away, the human girl runs for her life through the mountains, trying to get as far from that cave as possible. Meanwhile, the MC pulls up his system menu to check his quest progress and skill trees. He notices he's only one mob away from finishing the quest that will finally class him up to an elite warrior. He figures the next evolution will buff his agility even more and make future combat way easier. Suddenly, his partner's voice snaps him back to reality, calling him from the top of the hill. She walks up saying she's already looted all the useful drops from the camp and asks for the squad's next move. The boss warns that some survivors managed to flee and will 100 bring backup to this spot very soon. With a wicked look, he suggests they use this chance to set up a trap and wipe out the incoming raid party. The sun is high in the sky, meaning the clock is ticking and they need to prep defenses with zero lag. They carefully set up multiple traps around the cave entrance to make sure no enemy gets out easy. Happy with the teamwork, the goblin cheerfully celebrates how well the base defense prep is going. But he jogs by and scolds her for not handling the gear with the focus this hardcore situation needs. Just then, a little minion runs up and calls the warrior boss, catching both of them off guard. The little guy proudly reports that the crew finished following all the tasks given earlier. He confirms that all the obstacles and lethal traps are perfectly placed along the interior route. Even though the MC tries to say he's not their leader, the minions insist on hyping him up as the big boss. One of the goblins says he saw the PvP against the humans up close, and that everyone respects his broken power level. Looking at the squad, the warrior realizes how hyped every single tribe member is to have him in charge. With that, the mob of little monsters starts cheering, unanimously accepting the group's new commander. Then Mev walks up acting super affectionate, saying she also accepts him as her leader but mostly as her man. Suddenly, a scout runs in with breaking news. The human raid party is already closing in on the entrance. Taking charge, Gorls orders most of the squad to fall back immediately and find a safe stealth spot in the woods. He turns to his trusty partner and says he needs her support class to put the defense strat into play. She instantly readies her bow, promising to rain down arrows on any invader who dares cross them. With a challenging glare, the leader gets ready to initiate combat and stat check the incoming enemies. Outside, the enemy warriors find the wrecked camp and are completely shook by the amount of casualties. The human boss analyzes the scene, totally confused, refusing to believe one tiny monster caused this much damage. The surviving scout begs the leader not to underestimate the mob, reminding him of the horror show he saw in the cave. He explains the monster went totally berserk and wiped out the exploration party with zero counterplay. Annoyed by his minions' panic, the commander lands a heavy kick, calling the guy a useless coward. Taking the hit, the man gets knocked back, falling in a super humiliating way in front of the whole squad. Then the boss orders his elite guard to round up the group and capture the goblin alive to prove this crazy story. The captain relays the order to the troops, demanding they push carefully with the goal of capturing the target without damaging it. But the second they step into the canyon, a stealth attack perfectly snipes one of them in the neck. A rapid-fire volley starts dropping on the group, throwing the soldiers into total panic from the ambush. From the backline, the leader watches the attack, shocked, having no idea where the crazy projectiles are coming from. Right after, one of the scouts points up the slope, spotting the silhouette of the tiny sniper in the trees. Holding the high ground, Mev keeps firing her arrows with aimbot-level precision at the group. Another soldier takes a heavy hit to the leg, dropping to his knees, unable to keep pushing with his team. Furious at his squad's terrible performance, the commander screams, demanding they counterattack right now. Up on the hill, the young goblin smirks, roasting how completely unready and slow these human players are. Without giving them a window to counter, she quickly falls back through the trees, vanishing into the foliage. Totally tilted, the boss orders everyone to sprint after the creature right away and catch her no matter what. With that, the troop of warriors rushes headfirst into the woods, walking straight into the MC's trap. The agile goblin runs through the dark cave, trying to pull aggro from the invaders. With a high perfect jump, she drops from a rock platform, ready to keep kiting them. Sprinting fast, she glances back, hearing the heavy footsteps of the heavily armored guys chasing her. The soldiers scream in rage to catch her, super tilted that they're getting outplayed by a monster. The whole squad pushes together into the dark cave entrance without a second thought. Mev regroups with her ally and says the enemies are pushing in, but Gorls orders them to take the back exit immediately. Pumped about the call, she quickly agrees, and the two start sprinting to extract from the zone. The invaders push into the cave yelling, totally overconfident that this capture is gonna be a breeze. The group's commander grumbles, annoyed that they are getting outmaneuvered so easily by basic goblins. Because of that, the warriors pick up the pace, rushing down the stone paths. Suddenly, a tiny spark lights up and starts burning a hidden fuse on the floor super fast. Hearing the weird sound, the invader boss is clueless about what's going down. But he quickly spots the wooden debris and mocks if the monsters actually thought that garbage would stop them. He arrogantly notes that the goblin has some neat tricks and actually seems smarter than his own guys. But suddenly his eyes go wide as he realizes a second too late what the real trap was. Right then, the boss crouches to inspect some weird black dust scattered in the rocks. He realizes it's highly explosive gunpowder and the fuse has hit zero. Desperate, a soldier yells he found something awful and tells the boss to look immediately. The commander screams at the top of his lungs, ordering everyone to fall back and run as fast as humanly possible. But one of the warriors just looks back, totally lost on why they're suddenly retreating. Boom, an absolutely massive explosion consumes the place with a giant flash of fire. The blast wave hits the frontliners who were closest to the trap right in the face. A massive cloud of smoke and debris blasts out of the cave, blocking the entrance completely. Several warriors get launched by the crazy shockwave, screaming from the damage. Dropped on the ground, one of the survivors curses in rage, trying to recover from the huge hit. Then the ceiling completely caves in, totally burying the entrance path. Mev watches it all from a distance, completely amazed by the crazy ow-ee of that explosion. Worried, she turns and asks if Gorls is okay after the big brain play worked. But the warrior is suddenly surrounded by a glowing blue pillar of light spawning under his feet. The system screen confirms the quest is cleared and triggers his evolution into an elite war. As the light fades, Gorls steps out looking totally buffed in his new, powerful tribe warrior form. The warrior takes a deep breath, feeling the crazy stat boost flowing through his new character model. He checks out his own hands, amazed by the awesome feeling of having leveled up so much. Meanwhile, a wounded survivor tries to crawl away, groaning from massive HP loss on the floor. The guy grumbles, super tilted, remembering he pinged the danger but nobody listened to him. Suddenly, the MC walks up, surprised that someone actually survived that blast. He looks at the downed enemy, comparing his durability to an annoying, unkillable rogue. Without hesitation, the green warrior draws his sharp blade, queuing up his next move. The prisoner freaks out seeing him approach and tries to backpedal with zero stamina left. With the blade literally in his face, the guy shakes in terror, waiting for the game over screen. Gorls demands straight answers to his questions if he wants to stay in the server and not turn into loot. Far away at the survivor camp, a captain looks at the horizon deep in thought. Looking at the human base map, the warrior gets a hit of nostalgia about his own backstory. He realizes nothing has patched or changed in that survivor camp even after all these years. Mev walks up asking if it's bad news, but he says the situation just made their run a lot easier. Hiding in the woods with the squad, the leader plans to head back and give a status report to Morksul the shaman. Then he announces they need to upgrade the tribe's gear before planning the next raid. Right then, the human prisoner demands his end of the bargain, asking to be let go for dropping the intel. He points out he pinged the exact location of the camp on the map, just like they agreed. The MC keeps his word and confirms he's free to go from here on out. The guy is super relieved and shocked that he's actually getting unbanned. Walking all arrogant past the monsters, he orders them to move out of his way since their boss set him free. He walks off laughing, trash-talking the group of little monsters left behind. But the other warriors glare at the prisoner with total aggro, readying their weapons. Without missing a beat, one of the monsters stealth rushes and hits the guy right in the back. The warrior screams in pain, totally caught off guard by the sneak attack mid-walk. But another monster quickly covers his mouth, muting any loud noises. The whole mob jumps the unarmed invader at once, giving him zero chance to counter. Checking the map, Gorls casually notes that he promised to spare him, but couldn't guarantee his guildmates would do the same. With that, the prisoner completely collapses, totally defeated on the damp forest floor. Back at the tribe, the veteran shaman Morksul asks if the kid really wants weapons and troops to raid the humans. Taking a knee, Gorls explains he fully mapped the target's spawn and the whole surrounding zone. He adds that the tribe will have a massive tactical advantage if they pull off a solid sneak attack. The old leader thinks it over in silence, carefully reviewing the warrior's bold strat. Suddenly, a massive warrior named Goff interrupts, yelling that the leader shouldn't accept the request. The MC looks back, super annoyed by his rival's random interference. Goff asks if they shouldn't just focus on prepping for the big server event called by the Great Chief. He argues that the campaign will be a grind, and they need to hoard all the supplies and units starting right now. Morksul agrees about the event, but admits he has no legit reason to reject Gorls' strat. The rival keeps pushing, saying Gorls just leveled up and wasting resources on a noob is a bad call. Tilted, the MC challenges his hater to personally tag along on the mission so they don't have to spend troops. And he taunts him, asking if he actually has the guts to accept a direct PvP challenge. Goff gets absolutely furious and asks if the noob is seriously trying to stat check him. Gorls steps right up to his face, firmly stating he's ready to show what his build can do. But young Mev runs into the cave, calling for her grandpa and looking all hyped for her favorite warrior. In front of everyone, the scary rival Goff challenges Gorls to an official 1v1 duel, waiting to see if he clicks accept. Watching from the sidelines, young Mev freaks out, unable to believe the crazy sudden prompt. The MC accepts the duel instantly but sets a custom rule. The loser has to become the winner's permanent minion. Hearing those wild stakes, his partner goes into full panic mode, screaming about how crazy her duo is acting. Then Morksul the shaman officially authorizes the arena match, totally ignoring his granddaughter's desperate complaining in the back. Grouped up in the big stone arena, the tribe warriors get ready to spectate the highly anticipated 1v1 between the rivals. With the crowd going wild for the veteran, the players take their positions to start the match. The giant Goff flexes his size, super confident with the hype coming from the packed monster bleachers. Just then, a young warrior harshly calls Mev out for not stopping this crazy idea when she had the chance. But the girl nervously defends herself, saying there was no time to react and now the PvP is locked in. The old shaman Morkzul announces it's a clean fight. No weapons, no magic, going until someone taps out or gets code. The ally warns that the matchup is terrible, reminding her the veteran is toxic and will do anything to guarantee the opponent gets sent to the lobby. With a serious command from the spiritual leader, the duel officially starts, grabbing the whole arena's attention. The brute rushes in roaring with all his might, daring the young warrior to actually show his DPS. Charging at the target, Goff trash talks the opponent's new class, saying he thinks he's hot stuff just for leveling up. The veteran throws a massive punch, swearing he's gonna break every bone so the rival never respawns. But the MC dodges the strike cleanly, proving his speed stat is on a completely different tier now. Exploiting the huge lag in the attack, Gorls counters with a crisp, perfect hit that catches the big guy totally off guard. Taking the heavy damage, the giant stumbles and drops hard to his knees on the arena floor. Without wasting a second, the green warrior spams a fast combo that hits the enemy perfectly with 0 cooldown. The impact launches the brute backwards, leaving him flat out on the ground right in front of the crowd. Watching that unbelievable scene from the stands, the allies are absolutely shook by how easy the carry was. Badly damaged, the veteran grits his teeth, trying to scrape together whatever stamina he has left so he doesn't embarrass himself completely. The monster crowd goes crazy, chanting the old champ's name, hoping he counters the noob's combo. But the young guy just walks up calm as ever and asks if the opponent is really gonna refuse to tap out even looking like that. Met with silence, Gorls locks the enemy in a nasty armbar, making it clear the match is over. The opponent takes massive damage from the submission hold, unable to input any defensive commands on the floor. Unable to take the pressure, Goff passes out entirely, losing connection right in the middle of the stone arena. The giant's character model drops lifelessly to the dirt, confirming the match ended way faster than anyone predicted. Seeing his opponent code, the MC just sighs, commenting that the rival has a big hitbox but his mechanics are absolute trash. Gorls' fan club goes wild in the stands, cheering their heads off for the new warrior's insane, flawless victory. The respected shaman Morkzul officially calls the match and guarantees the winner gets his loot. Showing respect, the MC thanks the tribe's spiritual leader, accepting the W in front of everyone. Walking back with the crowd clapping and chanting his name, the young warrior looks totally ch. Mev comes running at him and gives him a huge hug, super happy about her duo's total sweep. The other minion walks up amazed, hyping his power level, while the girl brags about how broken her partner is. The ally declares himself the MC's right-hand man, but the girl drops a bomb, saying she plans to marry the leader before the server resets today. Killing the squad's vibe, the elder calls the young warrior back to talk about some main quest stuff. He quickly answers the shaman's ping, while the leader's granddaughter complains about her romantic cutscene being skipped. With that, Morkzul taps his wooden staff on the stone floor, summoning some seriously heavy magic energy. A bright blue light starts glowing on the ground, revealing a magic fast travel circle spawning in the arena. Channeling the ancient spell like a pro, the spiritual leader fully stabilizes the glowing gate. The MC is pretty shocked, realizing the old man is using a super rare high-level portal spell. The shaman tells the kid to step up, explaining there's a VIP he needs to meet face-to-face right now. He follows the prompt and steps into the magic gateway, while his guildmates check out the portal like it's alien tech. The portal loads into a crazy fancy palace hall, totally decked out with rugs and gold pillars. The mystic blue portal shines super bright right in the middle of the temple's luxurious room. The veteran shaman Morkzul leads the way out of the portal, with the young warrior right behind him. Together they hit the center of the room, where a mysterious golden rift starts spawning in midair right in front of them. Out of the heavy yellow light, a foot wearing simple sandals softly touches the fancy palace floor. The MC watches the cutscene totally surprised by the random spawn and the crazy aura the place has. A beautiful gold-skinned goblin drops in, warmly greeting the old spiritual leader she hasn't seen in ages. The elder grips his wooden staff tight, showing mad respect and keeping it serious in front of the VIP. Leftover blue energy from the portal keeps floating around them as the magic slowly despawns. The tribe leader stays in his mystic stance, focusing on keeping his ancient spells stable. Gorls checks out the details of that high-level fast travel tech, super impressed by that kind of magic flex. Then the wise elder motions for the kid to step up so they can do proper introductions. They walk together to the meetup spot, where a massive mystic alliance is about to drop. The huge blue portal lights up the temple hall, announcing the highly anticipated visitors. Walking through the loading screen, the veteran shaman and his new carry officially enter the fancy palace. Looking around the massive place, Gorls asks the shaman where on the map they actually just spawned. With a chill gesture, the elder just waves him forward a few steps toward the center of the super fancy altar. He follows the leader's prompt, walking respectfully down the temple's red carpet. Right then, the veteran shaman channels a tiny spark of blue magic energy straight to his fingertip. Touching the young warrior's forehead, Morkzul tells him to bow his head to receive a major sacred buff. A mysterious bright light flows from the elder's finger, locking the magic pact straight into the warrior's code. The shaman announces with authority that he's officially giving him the admin rights to start and lead his own independent monster clan. He backs up the call, explaining the kid has insane stats and merit, and a ton of players are already loyal to him. He adds that the VIP they came to meet is gonna be a massive carry for this new campaign. Right after, a glowing golden rift starts spawning in the center of the palace's main lobby. A foot wrapped in a shiny golden aura taps the stone floor, announcing the mystery ally has joined the server. The beautiful warrior Rumpelstiltskin introduces herself floating in the air, saying hey to the old spiritual leader she hasn't seen in forever. The MC stays quiet, totally stunned to realize he's looking at a super rare legendary golden goblin. The newcomer lands with total confidence and checks out the young warrior like he's a rare drop. She walks right up to Gorls and asks if he's the guy looking for high-tier loot for his strats. Rumpelstiltskin explains that everything has a price tag, so she can't just drop free gear for him. But before they talk business, the Golden Goblin wants to hear Gorls' lore and invites him to sit with her. So the Green Warrior steps up with zero hesitation and takes a seat at the table to start the dialogue. He's cool with the deal and asks exactly what part of his backstory he should start dumping. With that, he wraps it up by revealing how he respawned as a goblin, swearing that's his 100 real backstory. The host stays totally quiet, just downloading all the crazy details of the warrior's super rare lore. Suddenly, she slams her fist on the table, yelling that the whole story was absolutely top tier. Laughing super hard, the Golden Goblin declares that's the most entertaining, insane lore she's ever heard in her life. Then she snaps her fingers looking super hyped, celebrating the epic cutscene she just watched. A magic glow takes over the room, making a bunch of scrolls and cards float around them at the table. She cheers, saying that story is definitely going into the vault as the best piece of her memory collection. Super hyped, the merchant keeps showing off in front of the warrior, totally eating up every detail of what she heard. She yells out loud that she loved the whole thing, totally infected by an energy that just won't quit. She keeps celebrating, saying it's been a minute since someone hyped her up this much. Gorls just stares at her looking totally dead inside, not getting how she found a tragedy like that funny. He decides to skip the dialogue and asks if he can finally grab the promised gear for his raid. Laughing hard, the Golden Goblin agrees, pointing out that yeah, no player goes into a boss fight empty-handed. So she hops out of her chair super fast, promising to drop gear way better than what he was expecting to roll. Getting right in the Green Warrior's face, she whispers she's giving him premium loot because she sees him as a top-tier vessel. Then she turns and tells him to follow her so he can check out the unboxing. With that, the merchant walks straight into a dark rift that opens up right in front of them. She rereads his lore in her book, saying she's a huge fan of that tragedy no matter how many times she replays it. Suddenly, the MC spawns in wearing an epic armor set that gives him absolute main character energy. The Golden Goblin hypes up his new skin, while Gorls just wants to know if the prep phase is over. Confirming they're ready to roll, he mentions he can feel insane stats flowing through his whole character. But the merchant just sits back all chill, ready to spectate her new ally's gameplay from here on out. She mutters to herself, super smug, that her RNG for picking good players never misses. Then she asks for his full attention to do a quick tutorial on the special buffs she just dropped on him. The Green Warrior just listens to it all in silence, keeping his usual try-hard, focused vibe. A white flag with an epic logo gets slammed into a pole, dropping the pin for the group's new base. Back in the field, the MC's name starts getting chanted by all the Green Warriors around him. Standing on a rock, he looks at the mob of allies hyping him up with total loyalty. Not wasting a second, the warrior draws his new high-tier blade, getting the squad ready to push. He points the weapon forward and tells everyone to charge, announcing it's time to farm some humans. The whole mob of little monsters rushes the enemy camp in full aggro mode. The clan's banner waves in the sky as the army marches out, completely locked in for the W. At the human camp, the lookouts start running in a panic when they spot the massive raid party closing in fast. A scout crashes into the main tent yelling that the base is getting raided, making the commander panic. Out of breath, he clarifies the invaders aren't human players, but a massive Zerg rush of goblins. The camp boss is completely frozen, unable to process that trash-tier mobs actually dared to raid them like this. The Green Horde breaches the human defenses, screaming and wrecking everything in their path. Meanwhile, the Golden Goblin explains via telepathy that the first special buff she gave the leader is already active. She reveals that all the XP farmed by the clan members will funnel directly into the MC's account. With a wicked smile, the Mystic Ally gets ready to explain the second perk she hooked him up with. Right then, the Green Warrior snaps his fingers on the battlefield to open the new system feature. A massive amount of floating blue screens pops up in front of him, showing the clan's quest tracker. He realizes she actually coded a custom quest menu just for him, which leaves him pretty impressed. The Golden Goblin explains he can open this UI anywhere, anytime, with 0 cooldowns or zone limits. The active daily is to take out 40 human enemies, and the progress bar is already filling up fast. The warrior gives a half-smile, saying that actually playing out stuff he only read in fantasy wikis feels unreal. In actual PvP, the little monsters keep rushing the human-based defenders with insane aggro. Exploiting gaps in the enemy formation, the green mobs manage to drop the human players one by one. Thanks to the surprise attack buff, another soldier gets totally KO'd in the dirt. But a higher-level human warrior manages to parry and knock down one of the mobs surrounding him. The defenders start grouping up, pushing back the raid with some solid sword mechanics. Tilted by his team playing scared, the commander yells, telling them to stop throwing against such low-level mobs. He orders the soldiers to teach the invaders a hardcore lesson, calling the Green Horde total trash. But before he can even finish his comms, an insanely fast attack slices through the air, catching him totally off guard. The perfect hit tags the human leader right in the temple, dropping his HP to 0 instantly. Gorls casually walks up to the defeated character, sarcastically asking who he was calling trash. The closest soldier backs up in absolute horror seeing his squad leader get one-tapped like that. He shakes in terror, unable to accept that the base commander just got clipped by a basic green monster. Going into full panic, the surviving humans scream that these aren't normal mobs and start disconnecting from the fight. The call to fall back spreads through the camp as everyone sprints to avoid a game over. The MC just watches them run, totally unbothered, calling the retreating players complete idiots. The other tribe warriors celebrate the epic W and spam emotes at the cowards running away. But the Green Warrior stays serious, just staring off in the direction the enemies logged out. The Golden Goblin pops into chat, asking if he's picked an official guild name for his new monster clan yet. He repeats the question, thinking hard about what the best branding for his squad should be from now on. A flashback hits him of the human blood on the blade that kicked off his whole revenge arc. He decides to use that hardcore, edgy vibe as the core identity for his new crew. Standing in front of the gathered horde, the leader hypes up everyone's top-tier PvP performance today. He announces that right now, they've all officially respawned as the proud warriors of the Black Moon clan. And he reminds them that playing scared and hiding from humans in stealth is permanently over. Finally, he hypes up the first of many sweeps the clan will secure under his new try-hard leadership. Gorls holds up his dagger, yelling that from now on the squad is gonna bag even more epic wins. Hearing that, all the goblins roar, totally hyped to follow their ruthless new boss. Then he proudly announces the official launch of the Blood Dagger clan to the massive crowd. With that, the little monster's battle cry echoes through the whole fortified valley they just claimed. The Golden Goblin Rumpelstiltskin smiles, saying she totally vibes with the new clan name. Curious, she asks why out of all the weapon skins he went with a dagger. The Green Warrior gets serious, remembering the exact moment he scored his first elimination in this server. He explains the dagger was the exact weapon he used to end his very first opponent as a goblin. Hearing the lore, the Golden Merchant smiles, saying the name just got even cooler to her. But the MC asks straight up why she's carrying him so hard without asking for any loot in return. She walks backward, explaining she's strictly here for his insane storyline. Chilling in her chair, she drops the fact that these edgy tragedy arcs always get the most views. Smiling, she says that while she was listening to him dump all his past trauma, she could literally feel the massive rage the Green Warrior has bottled up in his code. And she points right at him, admitting she also felt the absolute despair of his massive loss. Hyped, she admits she can't wait to see how this whole revenge playthrough wraps up. The MC holds out his hand, thanking her for the massive buffs that will make his runway easier. Laughing in his face, she tells him to save the thanks because she plans to make bank selling his lore to other players. She winks, wishing the great commander of the new clan an awesome hunting season. Far away, the massive fortress of the 13th Guard Unit holds down the whole border region. A bulletin pinned on the wall warns everyone about a dangerous spike in goblin raids. Slamming his hand on the wooden desk, the warrior Lee Sangjun complains about how totally useless the other guards are. He asks, super triggered, how it makes any sense for veteran players to be terrified of basic green mobs. The junior soldier nervously explains the forums say these invaders use coordinated stealth tactics. Ignoring the warning, the angry warrior just crushes the paper in his hands, completely blowing off the threat. Yelling in rage, he asks why the mobs would team up when all the logs show solo attacks. The assistant points out that other survivor camps got absolutely rolled by the raiding party. With his arms crossed, he just smirks, seeing this whole mess as the perfect XP farm to get promoted. The subordinate gulps and nervously asks what the boss's next move is gonna be. Staring at the crumpled paper on the floor, the arrogant warrior decides he's gonna go hunt those mobs himself. He swears he's gonna permanently delete every single one of those annoying forest monsters. Meanwhile, a metal tray with a piece of food gets shoved roughly across the cold stone floor. Locked in a dark, damp jail cell, the young prisoner Jang Hyeon is crying, totally miserable. The red-haired guard walks up to the iron bars, pretending to care that she's skipping meals. Crying hard, she accuses the guards of trying to drug her food again. Trolling the locked-up girl, the guy acts shocked hearing that kind of trash talk coming from her. She snaps back, saying she obviously got that attitude from his own mother. Instantly tilted, the guard grabs the iron bars, screaming toxic insults right at the girl. He yells that they carried her, and in this crazy server, she's nothing but dead weight. Glaring at her, the jailer complains about the audacity she had to pull a weapon on them earlier. The prisoner just curls up in silence, totally ignoring her captor's toxic threats. Seeing the girl looking completely helpless through the bars, he gets a super messed up, cruel idea. With his hands on his hips, the guy sighs and laughs, thinking of a new way to grieve her for being rebellious. He coldly warns her that soon he'll show her what her account is actually worth around here. Then he orders his guys to tie the girl up and hand her over to the hunters as soon as they get back to camp. The guard smiles like a psycho, saying she's gonna be used as live bait to pull the forest mobs. Under the pale crescent moon, the girl is left tied to a tree deep in the dense woods. Gagged and tied up, she shakes in pure terror, listening to all the creepy sounds in the dark forest. Right below her, a bunch of shiny gold coins are dropped in a trail along the dirt path. The trap is completely set, and the coin trail leads straight to the helpless prisoner. Hiding in the bushes nearby, the mercs complain about the gross sap smell they used to drop monster aggro. The younger hunter roasts the noob trap, asking if the veteran actually knows what game he's playing. Even with the trolling, the veteran head hunter stays totally locked in on his screen. Old Tack firmly explains the shiny drops on the path will pull the monsters right to them. His buddy agrees, grumbling that even wild mobs will fall for basic loot bait. Still doubting, the young hunter asks again if this whole setup is actually gonna get any results. The veteran just ignores the spam, coldly repeating that all the trap prep is 100 done. He breaks it down, saying natural greed will make the first scout follow the gold drops without thinking twice. And he drops the detail that the necklace on the girl has an aggro spell that directly pulls monsters. Hearing that, the hunters start making toxic jokes while they camp the spawn for their targets. One of the mercs keeps dropping disrespectful comments while hiding in the dark brush. But the old leader shuts him down hard, reminding him monsters only go for soft targets. The young hunter shakes his head, totally grossed out by that bizarre chat. After 4 long hours of AFK camping, a skinny gray hand finally picks up a coin. The little scout celebrates finding the shiny human loot dropped on the dirt path. Hidden in the woods, the hunters get in position quietly, seeing the wild mobs finally pushing in. The squad of little invaders walks up totally clueless, looting the gold coins scattered in them. Hidden in the shadows of the trees, the MC spectates this whole weird setup. He spots the human prisoner tied to the tree and immediately recognizes her from their past encounters. The girl keeps struggling in absolute panic as she sees the monster models getting close. The green warrior just sighs, amazed that this girl managed to ruin her run again. While the other monsters surround the helpless girl, the leader casually walks up to the group. Looking up with tears in her eyes, she gets super shocked recognizing her random savior. He looks at her, sarcastically asking if she has some weird hobby of getting tied up. Completely stunned, the girl cries silently at the green warrior's crazy question. He lets out an exhausted sigh at this repeating event, but the tied-up girl snaps back, asking if he really thinks she likes being trapped like a glitch. Hidden in the nearby brush, the hunters silently ready their crossbows. One of them whispers to aim for the girl's legs, reminding the squad they need her alive and shouldn't eliminate her. Hearing them get closer, the hostage starts mumbling desperately, so the warrior tries to chill her out, revealing his real tag. Shocked to realize who the ally is, the girl tries to say his name through her tears. Desperate, she yells that he shouldn't be in this zone because the whole thing is a camper trap. But the MC replies totally chill that he already checked the map, leaving the girl completely confused. He calmly explains he can see the enemy's pings at 3, 9, and 11 o'clock. Suddenly, rustling leaves prove the mercs decided to push since their stealth broke. But it's the goblin warriors who jump out of the shadows, boxing the hunters in with weapons drawn. With that, the MC smirks, pointing out the hunters actually walked straight into his trap. The prisoner watches the whole reverse sweep, unable to believe how he read them like a book. A system message pops up showing a flashback to 3 days ago. Back then, desperate screams echoed through a farm while a human village got raided. The Royal Guard NPCs got completely rolled and were on their knees under the Green Warrior's watch. He tells the crowd he's not repeating himself, just demanding they sell him some food to avoid getting wiped. Shaking in fear, the villager points at the full supply bags, handing over everything they had left. But the warrior looks at the loot like it's trash, asking if that tiny drop is really all they had. The old lady begs for mercy, explaining that after paying the guards crazy taxes, that was literally all they had left. She cries, saying they brought out that little bit of food just to keep their own family from getting a game over. The MC just looks at the old lady in silence, with a cold, analytical stare. He feels bad about the RNG and asks the captured guards how they can stand griefing their own players like that. Grumbling, he notes that this amount of food won't even keep his clan's hunger bars full for 3 days. Surprising everyone, he reaches out and drops some shiny gold coins for the old man. The villager's eyes go wide, unable to believe the premium payout he just scored. The warrior decides to only take half the supplies and says that gold will carry them for half. Super grateful, the lady calls him Mr. Goblin, but the warrior just grumbles, telling her to drop the formal titles. Just then, an ally points at the captured guards and asks what the next move is with them. Showing zero mercy, the leader orders them sent to the lobby for being absolute trash. Following the prompt, the little monsters quickly attack the downed soldiers, giving them a game over right there. Huddled in the corner, the villagers watch the scene, totally terrified of the soldier's fate. He simply turns his back, carrying the food sack, and leaves the wooden barn. The warrior walks under the sun, focused on getting the looted supplies back to his base fast. Right then, he spots a wanted poster on a wall and rips it down, curious about the bounty. The paper is an official hunter quest dropped by the 13th Guard unit. He lets out an edgy laugh looking at the prompt, roasting the audacity of those human players. Suddenly, his trusty partner runs up asking if he finished looting all the food. The MC confirms the drop but shows the poster, warning her that the local guards are trying to farm them. He tells his ally to group up the fastest warriors in the clan, so they can go troll the humans a bit. Hyped for the mission, the young goblin accepts the prompt, promising Shed never let her carry down. The green warrior bites a carrot, showing he's already theory crafting his next strat. Back to the present, the monster squad is resting around a campfire deep in the dark woods. In silence, the ally just stares at the human prisoner with a super suspicious, curious look. The girl tries to warm up by the fire while the boss keeps a close eye on her from across the spot. Starving, she starts inhaling the food she got, totally ignoring everything else on the screen. After finishing her meal, the girl curls up, looking super exhausted and drained. The MC tells her to eat slower so she doesn't end up choking and dropping her HP. He mentions she seriously has the worst RNG possible in this crazy server. Super shy, the girl asks again if she really can't join his party, promising to follow his every ping. Breaking down in tears, she cries that she just can't take living this humiliating, hardcore run anymore. But the warrior firmly denies the party invite again, making it clear his strat isn't changing. Tilted, the girl complains it would have been better if he just let her get wiped instead of saving her to suffer like this. The MC thinks to himself that he only carried her because it was convenient, not because of some cheap pity points. He figures he can't carry her forever and needs to drop her from the friend list right now. So he admits he messed up and tells her she'll have to solo the rest of her run to survive. Desperate, the girl grabs his armor, trying to stop him from just logging off and walking away. With a hardcore look of pure misery, she begs him to just end her run once and for all. The green warrior is actually surprised by the extreme reaction and how serious her request is. She screams that she'd rather get a game over right here than get captured by Lee Sang-jun again, and get griefed more. Hearing that familiar gamertag, the MC freezes and tells the girl to stop talking right now. He asks, dead serious, if she was actually talking about the warrior from the 13th Guard unit. Surprised he cares, the young girl just asks if he actually knows that guy. With a super serious face, he confirms he knows that guy extremely well from his human playthrough. The MC reveals with massive salt that it's someone who definitely needs to get permanently banned. Then he demands to know how long she was locked up at that unit's base. She replies it was just a few days, totally confused by the warrior's sudden interrogation. The boss orders her to drop all the intel on what she saw and heard at the base before they decide her fate. Meanwhile, petals from a wild flower are being plucked one by one, showing the impatience of someone camping in the woods. Young Maeve keeps playing with the flower, looking totally zoned out by the river. Suddenly, the MC's firm voice calls her name, snapping the young ally out of her AFK state. She turns around super happy and hyped to see her leader and favorite duo partner. He orders her to instantly group up an elite squad with the fastest and highest DPS warriors they have. With absolute fury in his eyes, he reveals he's building a raid party to totally wipe that guard unit. Far away, the massive human military base is just chilling, totally clueless about the incoming raid. Inside, the nameplate confirms the room belongs to the arrogant officer who started all the beef. Lee Sang-jun is relaxing in his private room, enjoying the AFK time and looking super pleased with how quiet the server is. Repeated noises echo through the room, proving he isn't exactly solo in there. He hypes up the good work being done, looking more and more chilled out with his setup. Suddenly, a panicked minion bursts into the office yelling about a massive bug, which makes the officer insanely toxic about being interrupted. Without hesitating, the messenger points out the door, insisting the boss needs to see the crazy event outside for himself. Tilted by the random ping, Lee Sang-jun quickly gears up, cursing to find out what the massive emergency is. At the fortress gate, a seriously messed up scene is waiting for the base defenders. A bunch of teammates who went out on a quest got completely wiped and piled up as a dark warning at the spawn. The soldier reports the bodies dropped this morning, and the mods already checked everyone's tags. He reveals it's the exact squad sent to farm the monsters, and the whole team lost connection to the base. Getting super nauseous from the horror scene, the arrogant officer actually throws up right there on the floor. Getting his act together, he orders them to double the guards and call for heavy backup, realizing these aren't basic goblins. With that, the young guy stares at the hanged man's feet, cursing that piece of trash. Commander Lee Sang-jun, who carried the summoners as the top player, ended up with that tragic game over. But the kid already saw that ending coming, saying the leader was nothing but a useless troll anyway. Remembering seeing him literally on the rope, Gorls asks himself how the enemy didn't get his account deleted. Meanwhile, a scream of pure rage echoes from inside the 13th Guard unit's base. Lee Sang-jun's tag is engraved on a plate sitting on the office desk. Holding his head in full panic, the commander asks what the heck those mobs even are. He remembers that goblins are supposed to be low-tier trash mobs that are easy to farm. But now these monsters are griefing the soldiers in a super toxic and aggressive way. An officer runs in to check if the backup ping to the subjugation unit actually went through. The minion confirms immediately that the SOS was already sent via carrier pigeon. Flying free, the messenger bird speeds over the forest to deliver the distress call. Far away, the human guard base stays totally isolated in the massive jungle. Gorls checks out his new climbing gear, hyped he can scale any wall on the map with it. Suddenly, the warrior spots a symbol hanging on the wooden wall and gets super curious. The item on the wall is a monster mask with some seriously creepy graphics. The green warrior inspects the loot closely, focused on wrapping up his trades here. He gets the attention of the old hunter who was just AFK in the room, and tells him that gold is the payout for him getting in the way earlier. Right after, he drops a few more gold coins on the table to pay for the new gear. With that, Gorls declares their trade window is permanently closed from now on. The old hunter just nods in silence, accepting the transaction. Business done, the MC logs out of the shop, walking down the wooden cabin stairs. Mev runs up super hyped, saying she managed to invite everyone he asked for to the party. The other clan warriors ready up, confidently promising they won't throw the match for the boss. The leader hypes up his partner's awesome work, giving her a quick head pat. Then he orders her to lead the frontline attack on the base as soon as the night cycle starts. He tosses dark skins to the other two warriors, telling them to equip them right now, and announces that from this second they are the clan's official stealth raid squad. When night drops, explosions light up the fortress sky while people scream about an enemy raid. The human guards spam the alarm bells, totally freaking out about the monster invasion. Outside, Mev commands the frontline, ordering the rangers to spam arrows at the base. One of the defenders sprints up the wooden stairs to try and hold the line. Doors to the barracks fly open as total chaos takes over the server. The messenger warns the captain about the monster's aerial bombardment, leaving the boss totally shook. Furious, Lee Sang-jun orders the gates locked instantly and for everyone to camp the walls. The minion confirms the prompt fast and runs to drop the strat to the soldiers. Solo in his room, the commander sits down, totally rattled by how bad the run is going. He panics, realizing he's literally never seen or heard of goblins pulling off a base raid. Tilted, he decides to turtle up until the carry squad arrives, trusting the wall's high defense stat. Suddenly, a grappling hook hits the top of the stone wall, locking in tight. The lookout spots the weird sound and walks over to investigate the glitch. Looking down, the soldier sees the tight rope, totally clueless about the incoming gank. But a crazy fast attack comes from below, hitting the defender completely by surprise. Silenced instantly, the guard drops without being able to ping the team. The guard's model collapses lifelessly on the stone walkway of the wall. Gorl scales the stone wall with insane speed using his newly equipped gear. He notices the wall defense backed off thanks to Mev's awesome aggro pull. Right after, the rest of the stealth squad spawns in right behind the leader. One of the allies calls him boss, getting the green warrior's attention in the dark. The group readies up, confirming they are 100 locked in for the next phase of the mission. He calls for a speedrun to clear the zone, reminding them the main boss is the captain. The goblins push using stealth mechanics through the inner hallways of the base. But a patrolling guard spots them and asks what the heck they think they're doing out of bounds. Giving him zero reaction time, the raid squad rushes the solo player. A high-speed slash cuts through the dark, landing a critical hit on the defender. The guy yells in pain, getting instantly CC'd by the heavy burst damage. The squad keeps rushing up the tower stairs toward the boss room. Keeping max focus, the MC leads the push with his weapon drawn. At the top, a guard complains about the audio spam, whining about all this hype over some basic goblins. Suddenly, the guard gets backstabbed for massive damage before he can even input a move. Using the surprise round, Gorls locks down the other guard camping the door. Showing zero mercy, he throws the opponent off the top of the tower straight to the ground. The Green Warrior watches the drop coldly, sarcastically waving bye to the eliminated player. Inside the office, the captain jumps, hearing a massive explosion at his door. The heavy wooden door to the boss room gets completely obliterated. With the blast impact, wood pieces go flying, revealing the guy raiding the room. Freaking out, Lee Sang-jun draws his sword, screaming for his lieutenant in total panic. The MC casually walks into the room, while the officer tries to place his familiar voice tag. He drops a line that the enemy's reaction is gonna be way worse once his character model renders clearly. The captain backpedals in horror seeing the massive unit walking toward him. He screams, demanding to know the monster's username and how he downloaded the human language pack. But the warrior flashes his sharp teeth, saying that really shouldn't be his main problem right now. The goblin boss drops his mask, revealing his real face from his past playthrough. Recognizing his old squadmate who he thought had a permaban, the officer shakes in pure terror. Rushed footsteps echo through the dark cave, proving someone is sprinting for their life down there. Young Taeseong runs out of breath, leading the way while trying to kite a massive threat on their tail. Right behind him, Shin Deok-ho complains he has zero stamina left and feels like he's gonna pass out. He keeps screaming in panic, saying he's completely tapped out during this crazy chase sequence. But his buddy tells him to mute his mic and keep holding W so they don't get caught. Then Taeseong says everything will be fine once they manage to wipe those annoying mobs chasing them. Right then, super-fast wild mobs rush them hard, not giving the duo a single frame to breathe. Shin Deok-ho screams in panic, begging him to rush because he can't tank this nightmare anymore. Angry, Taeseong curses Lee Sang-jun for abandoning them as bait just to save his own run. Suddenly, the kid's eyes go wide seeing something horrible spawning right in front of him. He yells for his friend to hold the line, seeing that the carry is finally rotating to help. But the kid swears with pure salt that Hell finished the traitor himself, even if he knows Hell never get the chance. Meanwhile, the cutscene switches to the quiet outside of a wooden cabin under the dark map sky. Inside, Gorls glares at the captured Lee Sang-jun, coldly warning him he's about to start the interrogation minigame. Right then, Young Mev casually suggests they change instances to a more private zone to chat. The officer screams, totally tilted, saying he refuses to teleport anywhere with these monsters. With that, the Goblin Warrior aims his loaded crossbow, warning he can just drag his hitbox if he prefers. Shaking in fear, the guy realizes how hardcore his situation is and starts lagging on his decisions. The MC just drops a dark smirk, reminding him the officer never even treated him like a real player before. Giving him zero counterplay, Gorls hits the enemy with a perfect strike that completely knocks him out. Right after, the Green Warriors carry the tied-up VIP back through the base's streets. They drag him to the edge of the stone wall, prepping the next step of the squad's extraction phase. Disgusted, the goblin boss shoves the tied-up officer off the ledge, telling the trash to just drop already. The guy's model plummets from the high wall straight to the floor, surrounded by smoke from the recent blast. He screams in terror as he hits the dirt, completely tied up and taking massive fall damage. Outside, the tribe guards spam emotes, hyped to see the prisoner dropped exactly where the boss pinged. Then one of the goblins violently grabs the officer by the hair to make sure he doesn't try to glitch away. The MC drops down right after and calls for a full team extraction before enemy backups spawn in. Hyped, the allies spread the word to blow up everything on the way out to secure the 100 completion run. Mev smiles proudly, watching the chaos absolutely wreck the enemy base while fire starts eating the buildings. The entire mob of little monsters sprints away, extracting from the human fort under a red sky. From the top of the wall, a surviving soldier quietly watches the green invaders speed-running into the woods. The officer yells to stop firing, announcing the goblins are finally dropping aggro and leaving. The sun starts setting on the horizon, lighting up the wrecked forest that hosted the massive PvP event. The scene cuts to the peaceful tribe camp, where the wooden cabins look totally safe and chill. A plate with a juicy piece of roasted meat is held out to the young prisoner hiding in the corner. She looks at the loot super suspiciously, hugging her knees to keep warm. The The surviving old man nicely explains the food is perfectly cooked and shelled definitely like the stats it gives. The girl stays totally muted, looking sad and deep in thought, not reacting to the free item. He promises the item isn't poisoned and tells her not to stress, placing the plate on the floor next to her. The guy sits down super chill on the grass, keeping a polite distance so he doesn't spook the girl. Surprised, she awkwardly says thanks for the random act of kindness from the older player. The old man reveals that if she hadn't jumped in during that crazy night, he 100 would have gotten a game over from the guards. He explains he felt grateful because instead of trolling him for having a bad run, she actually showed real empathy. Curious, the girl asks if he's also a summoned player who got dropped into this bizarre server. The old man confirms, explaining the local NPCs actually call players from outside summoned ones. She thinks it over, realizing that tag literally fits her current playthrough perfectly. The older guy notes that these survivors usually unlock special skills by grinding system quests. The girl stares at the floor, trying to pull up any useful wiki info about her own skill tree. Suddenly, a glowing mystic UI pops up, showing an active tutorial quest to hunt local goblins. The system prompt clearly states the drop for finishing the quest is unlocking her true innate skill. Hiding behind the fence, Warrior Mev watches the humans chat, super curious about what they're whispering about. Her duo partner trolls her, saying dumb humans only talk about stupid lore when they meet up in secret. Tilted by his toxic comment, the young goblin glares at him, making the ally back off immediately. Back at the campfire, the old man happily notes that the tribe's monsters actually seem like a super chill, coordinated guild. Meanwhile, sounds of heavy damage and muffled screaming come from inside one of the locked cabins. Inside, Officer Lee Sang-jun is getting totally griefed, taking rapid-fire hits from the goblins. He screams in pain while stun-locked to a chair, completely unable to block or parry the attacks. The MC walks up looking absolutely cold-blooded and straight up, demands the prisoner start dropping the Gorals tells the officer to finally explain how he hasn't been deleted after everything that went down in the past. The officer complains, super tilted, saying he's alive simply because his HP didn't hit 0 in that fight. Reading that as a bad dialogue option, the Green Warrior lands a massive punch right in the arrogant prisoner's face. He keeps spamming heavy strikes to farm the required intel out of the tied-up guy. Desperate, the captain screams, begging the monster to stop griefing him and being so toxic. Crying from the damage, the prisoner asks what the goblin boss even needs to know to justify this hardcore interrogation. Goral steps back up, keeping his cool, and repeats the question, demanding to know how he survived that event. The captain screams in rage, arguing it makes 0 sense to ask how someone whose status says alive managed to survive. But the MC states as a hard fact that he saw him get executed in the main hub by the warrior Ha Yurai herself. Shocked by the name drop, Lee Sang-jun asks, terrified, why the Holy Sword carry would PK an ally like him. He desperately insists he never even saw that leader's character model and asks why he'd get hit with such a crazy ban. Grabbing the guy's face hard, Gorals calls him trash and reminds him how he used to treat other summoned players like NPC slaves. He keeps calling the officer out for trading the female players in exchange for VIP perks with the military admins. The Green Warrior finishes by saying that after deserting, he got caught by the Holy Sword and permanently deleted. Struggling hard, the prisoner swears he's never even loaded into the West Zone and spent the whole last year just in this local area. The MC steps back, totally shocked, realizing the officer's dialogue check shows he's actually telling the truth, which completely messes with his head. Gorals grabs the prisoner's chin to run a vibe check on whether he's actually dropping real facts. Asking if the enemy has seriously only been spawned in for a year, the warrior sees the guy isn't capping. But he notices Lee Sang-jun's current rank is captain, not commander, making him wonder what glitch he's missing. Then a terrifying theory hits his brain, hinting that the server timeline is massively corrupted. So he randomly asks for the exact server date, leaving the prisoner completely lost by the prompt. Demanding the exact day and year, the warrior violently shakes the guy to force the dialogue line. The prisoner stutters, saying they're currently in the Imperial Year 86 on May 7th. The MC freezes, confirming that the server time really is set to the Imperial Year 86. Feeling the heavy hit of that reveal, he puts his hand to his face, trying to process the completely broken timeline. Without dropping another line, the warrior just turns his back and starts walking toward the exit. The officer screams desperately, demanding his unban since he just dropped all the intel the boss wanted. But the clan leader stops mid-walk and casually mentions he almost forgot to clear one last side quest. While the prisoner angrily demands to be untied, the MC remembers an old quest line he never got to finish. He had sworn to himself he'd personally send Lee Sang-jun to the lobby if they ever matched up again. Suddenly, the warrior grabs the back of the officer's head, completely terrifying the guy with the move. With one fast, hardcore motion, the warrior snaps the captain's neck, finally defeating his old enemy. He looks at the offline body on the floor and drops a line about finally clearing that old revenge quest.